I-86 After Dark recommends simply the best cleaning services. Call 716-912-6940. Western New York's cleaning and restoration leader. From Buffalo to Long Island, this is I-86 After Dark.
Buddy, and welcome to I-86 After Dark. I am your host, Buffalo Bob, and I am here with my co-host tonight, the one and only producer, Mr. John Blaine from around the ropes. How the hell are you, brother?
I'm doing good. I'm glad to be back on here. It's been a while.
I know, it's been like 3 months since I last heard. Or no, it's been like a full episode, maybe like 3 months. But, you'd be kind of coming around here and there once in a while, but here you are again today.
Yeah, I'll believe it's the first time for this year.
Yeah, I know, right? And by the way, happy 2026.
Exactly. Happy 2026. And yeah, even though I may not been on, you guys have been doing a great job. And before we get going here, Bob, not to kind of see us under here, I do want to send a well wishes to a teammate of ours, Mr. Damien.
Yes. So Damien is not here tonight, and neither is Tom. Tom had a meeting that was scheduled. He wanted to do it tomorrow night, but wasn't allowed to push it back, so he's at that meeting tonight. And as for Damien, we're sending our prayers and thoughts to him. Unfortunately, he got into a skiing accident today, and he ended up breaking his leg. So we're hoping to hear from him next week, hopefully. I mean, if not, then we'll figure it out from here on out. But, yeah, so Damien, we're thinking about you, man, and we wish you a speedy recovery for certain.
And when I saw it was not what happened, but I saw the message when he sent it. Yeah, that's not a fun thing to have. Injuries like that are not fun at all. But yeah, like Bob said, Damien, definitely speedy recovery. Damn well your seat will be here when you come back.
Yeah. So in a way, we're sending out our prayers for you, man. So we're wishing you a speedy recovery. So we're hoping to hear from Damien hopefully next week. We'll see, how he feels and all that stuff. But yeah, so we're in for a really good show tonight because we got a lot of opinions going on tonight. And obviously we're going to jump into the first half of the show just basically on John's favorite topic, which is football, because I know John's got a lot to say, and we're going to jump right into it. So I guess we should start off with the recap of the two conference championship games that took place this weekend, starting with the NFC, which was the Rams and Seahawks. So take it away, John. What do you think?
First of all, I'm glad. I said this to a friend of mine, prior to the game. If it's either one of those teams, I'm glad it was Seattle. Seattle has built themselves the right way. They're a powerhouse team. The only part that I kind of laugh at is that Sam Darnold is their quarterback. Sam Darnold played for the Jets, what was it, 5 years ago or so?
Maybe longer than that. Maybe if you think of when he got traded, yeah, that was about 5 years ago. But he was there longer than that at that time.
The Jets made him look like he was absolute dog shit. All of a sudden, he leaves New York, and shocker, somebody leaves New York and actually has a career. Shocker, we could do a whole episode on that. No, overall, I'm glad Seattle won. They definitely earned it, and it's definitely going to make for a very interesting Super Bowl. As far as the Rams go, do I think this is the last we've seen of them in this position? No. But they just have to, I think, going further, just have to play better.
Yeah. But what I was going to say is that, Seattle played a great game. I have opinions on the coaching cycle because there has been a lot of news that came out of it. But as far as Seattle, I got to tell you, Mike McDonald really did a phenomenal job with coaching that game. Clint Kubiak, the offensive coordinator, was great. And the play calling was just astronomical. The weapons, the diversity of that team, the spreads around the field, absolutely incredible. And there is no doubt in my mind that Seattle has all the tools, especially this year, to win a Super Bowl. The Rams, I felt like my biggest complaint with the Rams is clock management, especially for Sean McVay, where it was down under 5 minutes to go. He ends up burning the last two of his timeouts with 2.5 minutes left to go, or 4.5 minutes to go. And when he got the ball back, there was no recovery time. And honestly, if I were McVay, I would have held on to that timeout and given my boys a chance to kind of catch their breath and come up with a plan real quick or something, and the likes of it. That's how I felt about it.
Oh, I agree. I actually just pulled up the stats here from the game, and it looks like for the most part, from what I'm seeing here, the Rams pretty much outplayed Seattle. Because I'm looking here at total yards, the Rams had 479, the Seahawks had 396. I think the only issue, if I were the Rams, okay, I see it right now. Here's the two reasons why Rams didn't win, and it's very you don't realize it when you're looking at it, but when you look at the stats, it makes perfect sense. They had one turnover. That did not help. Plus, also on third down conversion, they were 1 for 8, where the Seahawks were 7 for 13.
Isn't that charming?
And then fourth, here's one thing: like even fourth down, they were 1 for 2, so at least they did that. Red zone they were okay with, and I think they also would kill them. Time of possession, like you were saying before. Seattle had the ball for over 30 minutes, 31-50. The Rams only had it for 28-10.
I mean, the way I look at it, I'm just like, in that fourth quarter, when the Rams had the ball, and they were in the red zone, mind you, instead of doing what any logical team would have done, which was just take the points for the PAT and be done with it, instead, McVay says, go for it, go for it. And I get the idea behind going for it because you want to win the game, but the risk that he took to even commit to that kind of play, and going back to my earlier statement in the beginning of the show, which is, if McVay held on to his timeout, that could have been really, really helpful, especially if they went for the field goal, because at that point it would have given them extra leverage. But McVay just incompetently just botched that entire clock management of that game, in my opinion.
Well, no, I see what you're saying. That's the issue, is when you're in that position and the game is within reach and it's the Super Bowl on the line, you're going to do anything you can. It's like the old saying, throw shit against the wall and see what sticks. I'm sorry to be blunt about it, but I just think when you look at it, you're going to make – and then what's going to end up happening is the Seahawks are going to go back, in the offseason and kind of, play the Monday morning quarterback in their head and be like, well, if this would have happened and this – and it's like, okay, you screwed up. We get it.
I mean, if it was as simple as that, but the thing is that I felt the Rams on paper were better than Seattle. So in my mind, I felt that the offense was good enough, at least to me, to win the Super Bowl, but they just couldn't get it done. And I think coaching was a big flaw to that game. And I mean, I think they did fine with the majority of the game, but I will say, before I forget, there were some controversial calls that were made in that game, especially that infamous Cooper Kupp catch, which was considered a first down when he was down by contact when his knee hit the ground. And I'm just screaming, guys. As a Bills fan, I'm saying to myself, okay, so that's a first down, but not what Buffalo did it a few weeks ago with the catch against Denver. So it's kind of like the consistency of explanations in officiating in playoff games is just pure bullshit, in my opinion.
Well, thank God I wasn't on after that Buffalo game because, I'll put it this way, you would have probably been throwing that hat against me.
Yeah, I probably would have, because to be honest with you, the Bills did that to themselves. Allen played like garbage in that game, but looking back on it though, it's like that was a beatable situation for them at that time. But
Well,
the point, sorry, go
I,
ahead.
I was going to say, sorry to cut you off. I was going to say this though. You guys didn't have to go through Mahomes. I'll
I
just leave it
mean,
at that.
well, I mean, it was the easiest path, and then they just fucked it up.
But I look at this as far as going back to the game. I think Seattle. I think everybody, including yourself and me, thought the Rams were going to win it, and Seattle kind of went in there with a chip on their shoulder, saying we came into this. I'm looking here right now. They were 14-3 in the regular season, and the Rams were can't see that one. 12-5. So the fact that we're sitting here saying that, all the Rams were, we all thought the Rams were going to win. Seattle probably walked in there and said, "We're going to prove you guys all wrong," and well, yeah, they kind of did.
Kind of in a way, but because I remember like a few weeks before the regular season ended, it was down to LA or Seattle for the first overall, and Seattle won that classic overtime game in the regular season against the Rams. And I think Puka Nakua, if I'm not mistaken, Puka Nakua had over 200 yards in receiving total in that game against the Hawks, if I'm not mistaken. But and it's funny because it's like when I look back on that game, aside Puka, Devontae Adams also played great, but it almost felt like they were non-existent for the majority, at least till like the third quarter. And then Puka saved their life for a little bit, and then Devontae Adams saved their lives for a little bit. So it's like those two alone are like match made in heaven. I mean, if I'm the Rams, you obviously want to keep them together as long as possible, but their defense needs a lot of work. And I think that Seattle was just better in coaching in that game than I think many people suspected.
I'll go a step further. There's that line that's always been said that the regular season is different from the postseason.
Oh yeah,
You can be
totally.
phenomenal in the regular season, and we've seen it countless amount of times. I mean, let's go back 10, 15 years ago when everybody thought the Eagles had the dream team, when Vince Young
Hmm.
was on the team. And, they were calling, I remember Sports Illustrated came out with the whole thing saying, oh, this could be the dream team. This could be the dream team. And look at what happened.
It's funny because I actually remember that the Dream Team, and I will never ever forget the hype around the Dream Team during that frame. And the Eagles were all about Lombardi's at that time, and it was Andy Reid. So I'm trying to remember the names. They had like Vince Young, Nami Asamoah. They had all those guys at that time. Like that's the most famous Eagles like free agent I can think of from that 2011 offseason. But it's just funny to me because it's like you call yourself the dream team, and yet you didn't even make the playoffs that year, which is extremely ironic.
And it's funny, you said that was the 2011 Eagles?
I believe it was
All
because
right.
Nami Asamoah was on that team, and Michael Vick was there as well.
No, that was Vince Young.
No, no, I'm saying Vince Young was the backup to Michael Vick.
Oh, yeah, 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 yeah. Hold on, I'm going to look up right now.
What,
Here we
what do you
go.
what do you got?
For the 2011 Eagles roster. Yep, no, it's tracking. We have, yeah, Asamoah was on the team. Jason Avant was on the team.
Yes,
Jason Babin was on the team. Sequel was on the team. Trent Cole was on the team. Riley Cooper. Let's see here.
Shady was definitely on that team.
Yeah, he was. Yep, Deshaun Jackson. No. Jason Kelsey was on that team. Macklin was on that team. Casey Matthews, Jason Peters, DRC, if you remember that name,
Dominic Rogers Camardi, yeah.
was on that team. Wow, I forgot about this guy. Asante Samuel.
Wow. I actually, you know what's funny? I actually, quick story about Asante Samuel is that I got the opportunity 2 months ago to see his son get claimed by the Steelers and play in his debut game against the Bills in late November of this past year. So it was actually kind of a privilege. I mean, because I was so high up, I hardly remember where the fuck he was. I couldn't tell you if he was on the bench or if he was like, if he was on the sideline or on the bench, or I don't know if they activated him. I don't really remember, but I remember that the day that I went to that game with Tom Wujek and my wife and all that, Asante Samuel got claimed by Pittsburgh at that time.
Yeah, but I remember. But the point I guess we're trying to make is you can be well in the regular season, postseason. It's a much different animal.
Oh yeah, no doubt about that. I mean, there's a lot of teams that do that. They play. The Bills are like that. The Bills are in this category. They're a great regular season team, and they can't do shit in the playoffs, which is really unfortunate. But we're gonna get to the Bills a little bit later throughout the show. So I think for the for the sake of my sanity, let's actually go with the next big thing: the fucking AFC Championship game.
First of all, rest in peace to Bo Nixon's ankle. Um, what can I say about this one? I mean, I'm looking here right now, and like I said, I would do the same thing, pull up the stats and everything. And I mean, this one, I'm just looking right now. You were talking about teams that pretty much played neck and neck with each other. I'll put it this way: New England had 12 first downs. Denver had 11.
Do you think that if Bo Nix played in that game, like if he was healthy, do you think maybe they would have won that game against the Patriots?
I don't know, to be honest, because the problem is you still have the defense.
Yeah,
I mean, it can only take you so far in games.
I mean, a lot of people said that if Bo Nix played, the Broncos probably would have won that game. Because I gotta tell you, Drake May within these playoffs, I have to probably say, and I'm probably gonna get a lot of hate for this, and I really don't care, is Drake May probably had the easiest season of his career. Really legit think about this for a minute. Of all the teams the Patriots have played, they've only beaten one confirmed team in the entire regular season to make it to the dance. Everybody else was sub 500 or backup quarterbacks. And the Patriots had like this shtick where it's like, oh, we're back. The AFC East is ours again. And this, the Patriots, they're very arrogant like that. But It's the fact that, too, is that so it's in a way, I feel like it's like you have this cupcake schedule, but at the same time, you got a cupcake schedule in the playoffs. You beat the Chargers with no offensive line. You beat CJ Stroud. Whoa, that's a big accomplishment. And then, of course, you beat the shit out of Jarrett Stidham. And Jarrett Stidham was fucking terrible.
Well, like, here's the funny thing. I'm looking at it right now. They actually have their schedule up here right now. Do you realize, with the exception, I'm trying to see here. No, Carolina fired their coach. Bills fired their, with the exception of, I think, maybe the Saints, the Jets, and I think maybe Tampa. Do you know every game the Patriots played has gone on to fire their coach?
Yeah, I noticed that. And that's including the Bills. And they were the only ones on that list to make the playoffs.
Yeah, I'm just looking right now because obviously they beat the Giants, and obviously you know what happened with that. Trying to see here, who else. They beat the Jets, but everybody could beat the Jets. No, Cincinnati. I'm just looking here. Bengals didn't make it, though.
No, the Bengals didn't make the playoffs.
But they didn't fire their coach, though.
No, Zach Taylor is the longest 10-year coach in that division. Because think about it. Harbaugh got fired. Tomlin stepped down. The Browns are the Browns. And then, yeah.
Which actually, speaking about the Browns, it seems that they are going to hire the former offensive coordinator from the Ravens.
Oh, God. We're going to get to them in a little bit. But what's your general opinion on the AFC East? Like, in the AFC in general. Like, do you like the idea the Patriots are in the Super Bowl? Because a lot of people said that they rigged it in favor of New England, in spite of all the bullshit flaws.
Honestly, as somebody who, I mean, obviously people know I'm a Giants fan. I'm a lifelong Giants fan, and yes, I hold something against New England because we kind of beat them twice in the Super Bowl, so we're the only team that's able to say that. Um, Honestly, this one, obviously, we'll get into the Super Bowl in a few minutes. I'm not upset by it because I feel like with New England now, it's going to be very interesting to see them on the big stage without Bill Belichick, without Brady, without Gronk.
I mean, it's a very strong possibility. Like, you don't necessarily need those guys to make it to the Super Bowl because that's as clear as day. And to me, this is easily the worst AFC contender ever to make it to the Super Bowl. And I've seen some really mediocre teams, like the '06 Bears with Rex Grossman was in the Super Bowl one year. Nick Big Dick Nick with the Eagles that one year, even though they somehow beat Brady. There's a lot of bad quarterbacks. Jeff Hostetler in 1990 Super Bowl 25 when they beat the Bills. You
Hey,
know,
there are people who say that the Giants, when they made the two Super Bowls in '07 and '11, that they should have made it.
yeah, no, I mean
Hey, you know, I've
it's
heard that argument already.
yeah. Well, I was gonna say was is that yeah, the Giants could say they beat the Pats twice and all that stuff, but it's like it's a whole different ball game with some of these other teams because it's like, what the fuck do you do? Oh, you know what's a good one? The 2000 Baltimore Ravens when they beat the Giants in the Super Bowl. Trent Dilfer was the quarterback, and don't get me wrong, I'm not saying Drake May is in the same level as Trent Dilfer because Drake May is clearly better, but as far as like his mobility. The Patriots have a very bright future with him. There's no question. But I don't agree with the idea that they even made the fucking Super Bowl. Because the joke was, is that, oh, thank God, we don't have the Chiefs this year. We don't have to worry about them. Oh, it's nice to get the Chiefs out of the Super Bowl for one year. And then it's like, oh, you wanted the Chiefs out of the Super Bowl? You never said anything else. And then the fucking Patriots of all teams just come in and they're just like, oh, we're going to represent the AFC East. Woo! Yeah, that's so much fucking fun. I can't wait.
I'll put it this way. Would I rather have had Denver in there? Yes. Because it would have been a fresh team. It would have been a different. But am I that upset over New England being there? No, not necessarily.
I certainly am. I mean, I'm bitter because I'm a Bills fan, but it's like I'm more bitter that the Patriots had a cupcake schedule throughout the entire season from that moment all the way to the end, which is now with the Super Bowl. I just think that it's just ludicrous. It should have been Denver or any other team. Hell, I think Houston had a good shot to get there, but no, they shot themselves in the foot because CJ Stroud sucks, and I think everybody started to see that with him
Yeah, but
because
you're forgetting one thing with New England. Who is their head coach?
Mike Vrabel.
And when did he play? I don't know if you saw this. He is the first player to have played and have coached the same franchise to the Super Bowl.
I mean,
And
that's a hell of an accomplishment.
who did he play under?
Bill Belichick.
I don't think obviously we can go through the Pats schedule. I don't think it was more of they had an easy schedule per se. And again, I'm not trying to sit here and defend the Patriots. Believe me, as a New Yorker, I hate the Patriots with a passion. But I'm also trying to be realistic here for a second. You have Mike Vrabel, like we said before, who played under Bill Belichick. Bill Belichick, other than if you're Bill Polian, should be a fucking first ballot Hall of Famer, in my opinion. Which I got a few choice words about that one.
Well, let's get to it, and then we'll get to the Super Bowl prediction. But okay, so go ahead. Tell everybody how you feel about the whole Bill Belichick situation.
Well, before we do that, I'm going to pull up Bill Belichick's stats, okay? Just bear with me 2 seconds here, because I seriously, when I saw this, and mind you, I'm far from a Patriots fan, okay? But you're talking about a guy who started off, wow, he started off being a head coach in 1975.
For what team?
The Baltimore Colts. He was a
And,
special assistant. He got his first real start with the Giants in in '85. He was part of that Giants Super Bowl team. But okay, so before I go further, let me. He is a six-time. He's won the Super Bowl 6 times as a head coach, twice as an assistant coach. As a head coach, he's a three-time AP NFL Coach of the Year. He's a Maxwell Club NFL Coach of the Year. He's on the 2000s All-Decade Team, the 2010 All-Decade Team, the 100th Anniversary All-Time Team. He's part of the New England Patriots All 2000 Team, so on and so forth, okay?
yeah.
Also, here's the records he owns. Hold on. He owns records for most Super Bowl wins, 8. Most Super Bowl wins as a head coach, 6. Most Super Bowl appearance, 12. Most Super Bowl appearance as a head coach, 9. Most playoff wins as a head coach, 31. Most playoff appearances as a head coach, he's tied for 19. Most divisional championship as a head coach, 17. Now, I just read you that. Okay, I just read all that.
Right.
You would think he should be a first ballot Hall of Famer, right?
Well, on paper, yes. But do I agree with them not putting him as a first ballot Hall of Famer? I mean, I think he at least deserves it outside of his entire resume. But the only reason that he's not even in this conversation as far as a first ballot Hall of Famer is basically of the whole Spygate allegation, which do you really believe? Let me ask you a question. And this is just from human to human. Do you really believe, or it's worth of deserving, that if you committed a crime, which is exactly what he did at the time, spygating is illegal? And do you think that's something into consideration for any sort of validation to get you into the Hall of Fame? And that's including the Deflategate scandal.
No, but looks like we actually got a comment coming in here, so I don't know if you want to go to that comment now.
So the comment from Jay is, you could say all the stats, but the reasons why Belichick should not be a first ballot Hall of Famer is that politics with his girlfriend and etc. See, I don't believe that.
His girlfriend should not have any part of this. He built his legacy before he met the girlfriend. Hell, he built his legacy before his girlfriend even was born. Call spade a spade there for a second. But I just went through the stats. And the reason why Bill Belichick is not a first ballot Hall of Famer is Bill Polian. Okay? And this is why somebody like Bill Polian should not be allowed to be one of the voters, because apparently he did not like Bill Belichick and had disdain for him.
No, he said no about the first ballot Hall of Fame. It's because he accused Belichick about the Spygate scandal I was just referring to. And again, that's illegal. You cannot spygate in the NFL because you can't send a member of your coaching staff into another team's facility, take a video camera and record their practice and then send it back to their coach. You can't do that. That's illegal.
No, I'm not. I'm agreeing with you that that is illegal. But let's look at it from this perspective for a second. Steroids, okay? You're cheating at the game, correct?
Right.
How many players are in the Hall of Fame that took steroids and nobody even talks about it?
Mostly about 75% of pretty much 75% of the league is in the Hall of Fame for steroids. I mean, there's a lot of them out there. I don't know what specifically on the top of my head at the moment, but there's a shitload of players in that time frame who all went into the Hall of Fame with roids.
All right, can we get to Jay's comment here? Because now...
Go ahead, say it.
I'll read the comment here. Jay says, Bill Belichick is not in the Hall of Fame because of the drama, Spygate, and Deflategate scandal. If we allow him to get in, we might as well let all cheaters get into the Hall of Fame of any sport, like A-Rod, Clemens, and etc. Okay.
Here we go. Here we go, folks. This is what you came to see.
Jay, I love you, buddy. You do well. You know, we work well together around the ropes.
Oh, my God.
If you're trying to get my blood pressure to go higher, you just hit it. You can't compare one to the other. And like I said before, how many baseball players are in the Hall of Fame now that took steroids? I mean, let's call a spade here for a second. They didn't start testing steroids until the mid 70s, I think, early
Something like
80s.
that. So it's something
They
like
actually
in that
started
era.
testing for the steroid.
Yeah, I think so. But wait a minute, isn't Barry Bonds not in the Hall of
Okay.
Fame?
Now, yes, we can go to the whole. Yeah, Bonds is not in the Hall of Fame. A-Rod's not in the Hall of Fame. Clemens not in the Hall of Fame. Do I think eventually they will get in there? Yes, I think they will.
Yeah,
But the
but that's not.
problem is the people who vote. The people who vote are guys who are 90 years old and are 1 foot in the ground already. I'm sorry, steroids are a part of the game. Okay? You can't sit there and tell me, oh, then what are you going to say about all the guys who played then in that era? That nobody from that era should be in the Hall of Fame then?
I'm not saying that in general, but like, I mean, I don't think it's fair to say that steroids should be in the Hall of Fame. I think it should be in the same line as people who Spygate or Flygate or anything like that. Any sort of scandal or cheating in any professional sport should be not consent from it or condemned, but it's a heavy consideration because remember, Bill Polian was one of the victims of the Spygate scandal. Because if you remember when the Patriots, I think it was the second Super Bowl when they played the Panthers in 2003, Super Bowl 38. Yeah. That Super Bowl, I believe they played Indianapolis that year in the regular season, or it might have been in the playoffs. I don't remember exactly, but it was one of those times. They played the Colts and they took out the playbook of the entire offense. I mean, a lot of teams were at fault at this. The Jets, the Rams, the Panthers were one of them. The Colts. There's a lot of moving parts about everything that came about when it came to the Deflategate scandal or anything like that. But I'm not condemning the idea that athletes are taking steroids to go into the Hall of Fame. But if you outright said, yes, I took roids, then it's going to hurt your chances of getting to the Hall of Fame. Like, let's use a different topic, for example. Let's use Pete Rose for a minute here. Pete Rose was banned from life until he died a couple years ago. Then they put him in the Hall of Fame because the key word is for life. So he wasn't allowed to see his own Hall of Fame ceremony at that point until he was dead. So if we're being considerate here about, let's say, like Barry Bonds or Roger Clemens for that matter, if we're putting that argument out there that, you know, that steroids are a big factor to some of these players not being in the Hall of Fame, then I think it's only fair to have the courtesy to have them basically wait for them to die, and then you put them in the Hall of Fame. I think that's something that it should be into consideration, and that's just me personally.
You know, I hear what you're saying. Oh, let me get this other comment here from Jay. He goes, scandals will cloud you for the first ballot. He'll get in, but he's not first ballot. He decided to cheat, and it cost him. Okay. Again, I'm not trying to come off as a Patriots sympathizer here. Okay? But I'm sorry. This crap has to end. Okay? Yes, what happened, happened, okay? You can't rewrite history. It's like I said, the steroid thing, like the Flakegate, like Spygate, is part of the National Football League history.
Well, it's a big factor, though, John, because, like, no coach. I mean, I think if I'm not mistaken, I think there's only 3 coaches that have always been, you know, first ballot Hall of Famers. I think Chuck Noll was one. Don Shula was another one. Tom Landry, I think, was the third one. Those guys have less Super Bowls combined than what Bill Belichick has. But I in a way, I kind of agree with Polian about the whole Spygate scandal. And I'm not saying that Belichick can be a great coach. He was a great coach in the NFL. But the thing is you have to take it for the benefit of the doubt. He was a great defensive coordinator for the Giants for many, many years ago. He took the Patriots job, but that's also kind of the benefit of what you get when you work with Tom Brady for 20 plus years. I mean, it's hard to argue that. And then Brady left, He went to Tampa and he proved that I was the one that carried everybody, not Billy B. I mean, it's very straightforward. So for Bill Polian to say that uh, that he didn't deserve to be a first ballot Hall of Famer, I don't agree with it, but I get why he did it.
I'm just looking up here for a second. Yeah, you're right. It was Don Shula, Chuck Nolan, Tom Landry were the three.
Right. So I had a sense that it was the case because all three of them have less Super Bowls than Belichick does combined because he has 8 total Super Bowl rings, and then those three have 6 in total because Noel has 2, Shula has 2, Landry has 2. But again, I'm sure Bill Polian was not the only one to think this way. I think he was the most outspoken about that topic, if you ask me. You know,
No, I get what you're saying, and I guess it just irks me, you know.
right? Well, actually, it's funny you say that because I actually have the news release from the Pro Football Hall of Fame, and the letter basically says that it doesn't name Bill Belichick specifically, but it says that if a voter violated the selection process by laws, actions will be taken, including the removing of the voter from the committee. So, in other words, Bill Polian basically might have potentially broke the Hall of Fame rule because of personal agenda. But if that vote gets taken away, then Belichick becomes the first ballot Hall of Famer.
And you know what's funny? That's what my issue is. That's my issue, okay? With what you just said is the fact that it was personal agenda. That's why if you remember how many years ago was it when Jeter got brought into I think it was Jeter got inducted into the Hall of Fame and fell short of one vote of being unanimous because of some no name writer who I don't like Jeter. When you're voting for the Hall of Fame, I don't care if it's the MLB Hall of Fame, the NFL, whatever. Personal agenda, personal issues should not be brought in to a person's eligibility for the Hall of Fame. That's my issue.
Well, okay, so let me just take this a step further. And this also applies in the NHL because this just happened until this past summer. Alexander Mogilny was the defector player, the first one to ever do it. He had a great NHL career, and he was playing for the Buffalo Sabres. And the NHL for years after he retired said no, no, no. And they never gave him an explanation until recently because of the affiliation of the political landscape with the United States and Russia. That's why, and because of that timing of between Russia and the Ukraine war that happened a couple of years ago, that's still on to this day. But we're not getting into politics. That's why the NHL gatekept him from being in the Hall of Fame because it has nothing to do with how he played. It's because of his affiliation with Russia. That's why, if you think of the NHL Hall of Fame with how their system is written down, it's a gate collection of people within the Hall of Fame committee that said that guy could be eligible, that guy could be eligible, that guy could be eligible. And they all sit down by unanimous vote and they say, this guy could get it for sure. They said this for like 15, 20 years about Alexander Mogilny until this past summer. They finally said, fuck it, because we can't be holding it back, then the media is going to be on our ass. We got to put him in the Hall of Fame. So, and the same thing could happen with Jeter. I mean, Jeter, he was screwed over. I agree with that. But as far as like Belichick and all that stuff, I get why Polian felt this way. But if the NFLPA has to step in with the Hall of Fame committee and they have to say, well, okay, well, if they're doing it because of personal vendetta, then, we have to eliminate the vote. Like, dude, it's not fucking politics. It's a straightforward agenda that Bill Polian had for years because of his personal feelings towards Belichick, because of the fact the Patriots fucked him over all those years.
But the issue is, I can see, I see what you're saying. But if it's true and he voted no for Belichick solely because on his, the fact that he got butt hurt all those years ago, what's the term? Oh yeah, grow the fuck up.
Well, it's mainly the Spygate thing, but aside the point, that there's a big variety of bullshit that goes behind it. Like if Belichick didn't do any of this shit, I would have said without doubt that he would get in the Hall of Fame. But I get both sides of the argument, and I'm just trying to be unbiased. I hate the Patriots as much as the next guy, but I'm just being straightforward about this whole scenario. Because if we're talking about his overall career, then yes, I think he deserves to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. That's just me.
But do you see where I'm coming from though? In
Yes.
this in this whole thing, to me, this is where if you have to change the way people vote, okay, fine. But this is where I'm going to bring this into wrestling for a hot second. Okay, and you're going to see where I'm coming with this. It's not a good comparison, but you'll hopefully people will see where I'm coming from this. Everybody knows the story of Chris Benoit and knows what he did. And people always talk about, well, will he ever get into the Hall of Fame? And I know there's no actual wrestling Hall of Fame. I've heard some people say the wrestling side of him, absolutely. One of the best technical wrestlers. Obviously, we know what he did on the outside. My point is that maybe that wasn't a good comparison. Forget what I just said. Just if you listen to the podcast later on, just forget what I said on the last 10 seconds.
Well, let me ask you a question. Is Eddie Guerrero in the Hall of Fame?
I think so.
Well, did he have any scandals? Because I don't know. I'm not a wrestling fan.
No.
Didn't he kill his family?
No, that was Benoit.
Oh, that was Chris Benoit.
Yeah, that was Benoit.
Oh, you know what it is? I was getting him confused with Eddie Guerrero. That's what it was. Like Chris Benoit with Eddie Guerrero. I was getting those two confused. I know about the whole Chris Benoit thing, though.
Yeah, that was Benoit. But my point is this: if it's true that Bill Polian did what he did because of his issues with Bill Belichick from all those years ago, grow up.
I mean, I'll always cherish his time with Buffalo with building those dynasty teams, but I'm just being straightforward, my man. Bill Polian has a point. That's all I'm just trying to get across.
I get it from both sides. I do get it from both sides, but we seem to have some comments here.
A lot of them. So let's see. So the first one is scandals will cloud you for first ballot Hall of Fame. He'll get it, but not as a first, and he decided that she's going to cost him. So we've already read that one. You get this one.
Actually, that's more for you.
Okay, fine. Where's Great Dame at? Is he at Buffalo Wild Wings watching the game? No, Jay. The answer to your question is no, he is not. We've already addressed it in the beginning of the show. Unfortunately, Damien cannot make it to the show tonight because he ended up, unfortunately, breaking his leg today while he was out skiing, and he got admitted to the hospital. So he's not going to be with us this weekend. So neither is Tom. So Tom had a meeting, and Damien is actually at the hospital right now getting his leg repaired in a cast, and he's probably going to be in recovery for 4 to 6 months. So we're wishing him a speedy recovery. And Buffalo Bob with a question mark. Update us on the Rangers Island this game. You got the hat on. Yes, Jay, I know that. The Island, I got the game on in the background. And if you want to know, John, during the show, the Islanders are winning 4-2 over the Rangers late in the second period. So there's your update because, Jay wanted to know.
But, so we're going to preview the upcoming Pro Bowl?
Oh, dude, fuck the Pro Bowl. I don't watch that shit. Man, fuck that shit. I mean, if anything, I'm more embarrassed that the fucking Pro Bowl is during the fucking weekday. Who in the executive department, whoever writes the schedule, who said, we're going to put the Pro Bowl in the same location as the Super Bowl? What are we going to do about that? Why don't you just have the fucking Pro Bowl on Saturday, the day before the Super Bowl, play it there, and then have the awards on Thursday, which I think it is next week, and then whatever. Have the mini all-star game thing there, and then have the fucking Pro Bowl on Saturday. The NFL's thinking at this point is such a joke with how they run that program. It's not even funny. Like, you may as well just have the Pro Bowl after the Super Bowl. You may as well just do that. But no, everybody has to watch that joke of a game to begin with. Oh, no, I'm sorry. I'm pretty sure there's a flag football league that's non-NFL players, but I'm pretty sure that's in the summer. I could be wrong. Because I remember watching it. It was like the girls like NFL flag football league or something. I don't know when it happened, but I've seen those references, It's a joke.
Well, I guess let's get to the big game.
Yes.
What do you want
So
to for next week?
who do I have going next week?
No, I'm saying, do you want to wait for that for next week? Because technically we could go a week.
Yeah, sorry, the
Um,
Islanders just scored. It's 5-2, and Neil Heineman just scored. But no, but to answer your question, who do I have for the Super Bowl? I don't do score predictions, but if I had to pick a winner, I'm going with the Seattle Seahawks.
what I was going to say is, do you want to leave that for next week's show?
Yeah, I mean, my opinion may change, may not change. I don't know. We'll see. Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Yeah, I just think it makes more sense because, we are going to be live next week, and, the Super Bowl is not until February 8th, so I figure it makes perfect sense to wait because more than likely, I will probably be back next week.
I would love for you to be back next week, man.
But I'll just say this much: for anybody who's a better in this, right now it looks like, according to DraftKings, the spread is 4.5 for this game.
Yeah, I saw Seattle was a 4.5 point favorite over the Patriots, but obviously that could change over time because the big thing, and I'm going to say this now, is I did see before we get to the other news, is I did see that Drake May was limited at practice today for the Patriots, and I'm saying to myself, if he's limited and there's a ligament injury or anything like that that could bother him into the Super Bowl, that dude will not be 100% at that time of the game. I mean, I know it's another week from now, but like. It's crazy to me to think that something like that would come up. That's all I'm playing.
Here's the funny thing: I'm just looking right now because they have the injury report now. I know it's early. Right now, it's gonna make things very interesting because you look at Seattle. According to what I'm looking at right now, Darnold is questionable, and Jones is questionable right now.
Well, I mean, to be fair though, John, I don't think the NFL would allow Darnold to not play in the Super Bowl. I mean, I know he had an oblique injury, but he played a phenomenal game against their biggest rival. So I'm not really that worried about him.
Well, I'm just going to see something here. Oh, wow. You know who the backup is in case Darnold can't go?
Drew Lock.
Yep. Oh,
And
oof,
then,
that screams Super Bowl. Can you imagine if in 2 weeks we're we come back for the show, Seattle wins the Super Bowl somehow, and Darnold doesn't play at all, and somehow it's Drew Lock, and we sit there and we're like, yeah, Trent Dilfer, Tom Brady, Drew Lock.
Jeff Hosteller.
But you see my point, though?
Yeah. Oh, speaking of that, you know what's funny? I actually forgot to say this earlier, and then I'll move forward. Is because we were talking about the Hall of Fame earlier, I actually forgot to say this, and that is Eli Manning for the second year in a row will not be eligible for the Hall of Fame this year. He got passed up again. I'm just saying.
I don't think the people of I-86 want 2 rants from me tonight.
Trust me, we're getting to that part pretty soon. You're going to get more of that from me when we get to the Buffalo Bills because I have a lot to say about the Bills.
You mean the team that even though Patrick Mahomes, even though Kansas City wasn't in the playoffs, somehow you guys still couldn't make the Super Bowl?
At least the Bills made the playoffs this year. Yeah, exactly. So sit down and shut up.
Yeah, and who did the Giants hire as their head coach?
Yeah, John Harbaugh. But that doesn't mean that you're going to be the Ravens right away.
Hey, I said to somebody at work, you got a healthy Jackson Dart. Hopefully Scottaboo comes back healthy. Malik Neighbors comes back healthy. There's already talks about bringing Odell Beckham back to the team to be the veteran leader of the wide receiving core. It's gonna be interesting.
Yeah, for certain. But we'll see where everything goes. So Jay says, "Damn, it broke his leg. Oh man, get well, bro. You two should do a cameo for Dame. Unless he pays me the extra bucks, I could strip tease him."
I got it, Damien. Don't break your other leg.
My milkshake brings to the boys in the yard, and they're like, "It's better than yours." Damn it.
No. Yeah,
There's your fucking cameo.
I'm gonna behave.
Oh, damn it. I'm having too much fun with it. But yeah, so let's get down to the other pieces of news across the NFL. Because believe me, I know you're gonna ask me about it. You may as well just rip it away. Go ahead. Ask me the question about the Buffalo Bills.
You want me to ask it to you in the most simplest ways I can?
If you'd like to try me, I am open to it.
What the fuck is wrong with your organization?
I am not shy of saying this because I'm an actual fan, unlike other certain fans in the world. Terry Pagula is a fucking clown. Let me put it this way. This guy, John, runs the Buffalo Sabres. And they were a joke for the last 14 years that he's been owner. They have gone nowhere with him. And this guy had the audacity to throw his entire team under the bus by saying it was McDermott's plan to draft Keon Coleman. And then a video came out and saying Bean wanted to draft McDermott. Or, I'm sorry, Bean wanted to draft Coleman. And then it later came out and said Keon Coleman wasn't the first choice. And then since then, I was like, oh my fucking God. What are they going to do? You know, all this stuff. Because the Bills fan in me is saying this. And I'm just like, oh my fucking God, what are they going to do? So the next thing you know, there was candidates that came up. But one of them, and I really want to talk about this because this was a hot commodity until, what's today? Wednesday? So like Monday, I should say. And that was the Bills interviewed Philip fucking Rivers. Philip fucking Rivers, John. Do you not understand that? You are talking to a high school football coach for an NFL job. Why the fuck are you talking to him? What is the point of that? Why don't we just interview Peyton Manning and see if he likes it?
Well, I will say one thing. At least Philip Rivers knew to pull out this time.
Oh, my God. I see what you did there. I see what you did there, you dipshit. No, but Philip Rivers, why did they do that? I guess they were trying to fill out names because of everybody they were trying to fulfill. But yeah, no, Philip Rivers, that was quite a story. And then, of course, for other teams, you had teams like the Cardinals needing a coach, the Raiders needing a coach, and the other candidates. Some teams hired new coaches after we recorded last week. And Jay said, you're forgetting his father was a coach. It's in his blood. Yes, that is very true. But some of the teams, though, are just pure stupidity. Being the Steelers hiring Mike McCarthy, which people have already hate that one. The Titans getting Robert Saleh, in addition to getting Brian Dable, great hires. And then on top of all that, I'm trying to think who else. Who else here, John? Who else got hired? The recent ones, not Harbaugh, but somebody else was brought in. There's a list of coaches I'm thinking of.
I gotta stop right now. Give me 2.
Yeah, take your time.
2 seconds here.
Take your time.
I'm
trying to remember who.
I got it. Todd Monken.
Oh my God!
He's got hired by Cleveland.
And then, of course, the Bills, which we'll get to that one last because I have a lot to say about that one.
Okay, here we go. As of now, well, okay, we're not going to go back to like Atlanta then, right? With Stefanski?
Yeah, Grant. Okay, so Grant Udinski is the offensive coordinator for the Jacksonville Jaguars, and he was actually a candidate for the coaching job for the Bills. And I mentioned earlier on the show that the Seahawks had a great offensive performance, and the Bills wanted to talk to Clint Kubiak, who is the Seahawks offensive coordinator. And when I heard that the Bills, when they obviously fired McDermott, I said, maybe they'll get a chance. Maybe they'll do something right. And then, sure enough, these idiots at the top said, we could get an offensive line coach in Udinski. Maybe we could go someplace else. Maybe we can get Dable back. Maybe we can get Udinski. Maybe get Kubiak. No, we're going to just stay at home and just keep Joe fucking Brady, of all fucking people, to be the next head coach of the Buffalo Bills. Why the hell did they do this is a fucking mystery. I feel like I'm watching the Brady Bunch here. It literally, that's the name of this episode, the Brady Bunch, because it's all about Joe fucking Brady. And then I later find out that, oh, he's the CEO of the team. And, oh, he brings in great qualities as an offensive guru. Oh, he did great things for Josh Allen. Do these people have any fucking idea of the amount of pressure that they have put on themselves? Because you're not just talking about the coaching anymore. You're not just talking about the ownership. The pressure is also on Josh Allen because you're basically saying you get one opportunity to hire a head coach that will get you to the next level. At least what you would prefer to be believing in is that he leads you over the hump. And no, they don't even bother. And instead, they stay with Joe Brady. They could have had any other choice. They could have had Kubiak. They could have had Udinski. But no, these jackasses said, you know what? Joe Brady's our guy. But I will give him the benefit of the doubt because all of McDermott's guys are pretty much gone at this point. So he could go out and get his own offensive coordinator, his own defensive coordinator. Oh, wait, never mind. He's actually going to run the offense next year. Woo! Isn't that something, John? Great fucking hire, boys.
Well, I will say this much. I just read who the leading candidates to become the defensive coordinator for you guys.
For the Bills?
The Bills? Jim Leonard.
Yes, that I've heard. I've also heard Jim Schwartz. But, you know, I mean, I'll put it this way. The Bills were interested in Jimmy Leonard a few years ago, and he went to the Broncos. And I said, okay. And they, instead of getting Jimmy Leonard, they got Bob Babbage, who is the absolute biggest piece of dog shit that you could possibly find. Hell, you could probably find him at fucking Walmart for $1.99. Oh, you need a defensive coordinator? There you go. He'll give you blown 4-3 coverage leads. He'll let linebackers just stare and watch in critical fucking situations. Oh, on third down, you can't stop the run, give up 30-plus points in a playoff game. That's your guy. And the fucking Packers, I found out today, actually brought him as a defensive backs coach. Great job, everybody. Woo! The Buffalo Bills for you.
Well, I was going to say, welcome to New York franchises at their finest.
Well, the Bills are the only team in the States. There you go.
Touche. Let's get to a comment here from our good friend Jay, who actually specifically asked you this question.
Why did the Steelers get McCarthy, and do the Steelers Nation really think they're going to win with a 42-year-old quarterback? Simply put, no. The Steelers are fucking idiots. Because the mindset is it's not even the team, it's the front office. Art Rooney II is all about the presentation of competence. He doesn't have a goddamn clue what that guy is doing. The same reason that the Bills are in the same situation. Pagula is the standard of competence. He is not a competent guy. He doesn't know what the fuck he's doing. Same with the Rooney family. Art Rooney II doesn't know what the fuck he's doing. And Mike McCarthy only got hired because he has roots to the Pittsburgh area. That's it. That's the only reason why he got hired. Other than that, they wouldn't even have this fucking discussion.
So is it safe to say that you're not a fan of who Buffalo hired?
I wanted somebody that was an offensive-minded coach. That was something I've wanted from the very beginning. And they did get an offensive guy. But it was the worst of both worlds. It was either going to be Joe Brady, Brian Daboll, who I didn't want. I didn't want either one. I wanted someone with new, fresher minds to really elevate Josh Allen. I was fine with Nate Scalehouse, but the pass game coordinator for the Rams, I would have been fine with that. I would have been fine with Mike LaFleur. I don't have a clue what the fuck the Bills were thinking in this situation. Because really think about this for a minute. When the Giants brought in Harbaugh, everybody knew that was the best possible option for him out there at that time when they brought him in. And he's already doing some great stuff for the Giants. So I give you guys your flowers on that. But with the Bills, as far as like Brady is concerned, I wanted somebody who could kind of, elevate Josh Allen into his fullest potential. I mean, he's a great quarterback, but the clock is ticking, and you have at least 5 elite years left of Josh Allen's prime. And the Bills are wasting every opportunity they could get.
I will say this much. First of all, as the New York Giants representative on here for tonight, I do want to thank Buffalo for waiting to fire Sean McDermott when they did, because there were reports that had Buffalo fired McDermott before they did.
Yeah.
Harbaugh was going to go to Buffalo. They already said that.
Well, yeah. Well, McDermott got fired for speaking up against the regime because Brandon Beane's a fucking idiot. Terry Pagula is an idiot, and he just basically the biggest thing with Joe Brady as to why they hired him because the word is CEO. That's translation for a yes man. And if you follow Buffalo sports, because I sure as hell do, with the Sabres with Tom, Kevin Adams doesn't have a damn clue what he's doing. And I can be assertive of that. This is the same blueprint to why the Sabres were so bad because they kept hiring people from within the family or within the organization. And Pagula cheaped out. You get this brand new shiny stadium. You want to make a presentation for yourself. And then the next thing you know, you don't even bother paying a 5-year deal to some other coordinator or some other coach in the NFL. You could have done that easily. So the way I look at it is McDermott got fired. I agree with them firing him, but I don't agree with how they handled it because it was completely incompetent of them.
And who is to say Brady doesn't hire McDermott back?
He can't because McDermott already said that he's taking the year off from coaching. And if he were to take a head coaching gig, it's going to be next year in the 2027 cycle. But I wouldn't be surprised, though, if McDermott gets another job from another city, as I predicted him getting the Steelers job, and that was before Mike McCarthy.
Well, I'm just going to ask you this question. Let's say, hypothetically speaking, let's say Bills actually do good and Brady proves a lot of people wrong. Would you then sit here and I'm not gonna say eat crow, but kind of realize hey, maybe he actually wasn't bad.
Well, I will say is that if he makes me eat my words, because I have been wrong before, and I think I've told you the story, is that I actually did not in 2018, because this is when Bean first came in, McDermott came in after the first year. And I was one of those people that was against the idea of them drafting Josh Allen. I don't think I've ever told you that story.
Yeah, you did.
I have. So for those of you who haven't, I didn't want Josh Allen. I wanted Josh Rosen. And boy, was I wrong. And I'm glad I was. Because the way I look at it is Brady brings a familiarity and continuity. At least that's how the Bills look at it. And for me, as much as I would have preferred to see what Brady could do, because that's a lot of pressure for a 36-year-old to take a star quarterback like Allen and elevate them to be like this campaign of the anti-McDermott thing. That's what's happening here. They're basically trying to erase every element of Sean McDermott left on the team, including players that are aging, including coaching staff members who are already gotten job opportunities elsewhere. It's things like this where you have to really consider were these guys holding them back for so long. McDermott sure as hell did. So my theory is that I want to give Brady a chance because every coach deserves a chance. I didn't want Rex Ryan, but I gave him a chance and he sucked. So there's that. And then now the same is going to be said for Joe Brady. Because the guys, though, the thing is with this, John, is that everybody knows Brady's offensive scheme. For those guys like Allen, Cook, Kincaid, all those guys, Shakir, the biggest issue I had with Joe Brady is on third down situations. And you go back to the Denver game, and you could see 3rd and 10. He goes for a slant pass to Khalil Shakir. Boom, stopped. Oh no, critical situation. It's 4th and 1. Go for it on 4th and 1 with the slant pass. denied. Same thing in any critical situation. You cannot be doing that with a guy that's only 5'9". You cannot do that. You need good receivers to elevate that game, and that's something I expect Brady to pursue.
No, I get what you're saying. Quick update also about if anybody wants to know, Ottawa is currently defeating Montreal. Ottawa's defeating. Who the hell are they playing? Ottawa's defeating Colorado. Sorry. Oh, Colorado just scored. So never mind what I was about to say. It's now down up 1-1 midway through the second period.
Yep, and then the Blue Jackets are playing the Flyers. But aside from that, though, how do you feel about this coaching cycle before we get to the second half of the show?
Definitely interesting. Could be its own TV series.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm curious to see because there's still a few teams that haven't hired anybody yet, like Arizona. I know is still looking for a head coach. And then it'll be very interesting to see how it all plays out the next couple of weeks because before you know it, teams gonna get ready for the draft. So you got that coming up soon.
Yeah. And one last comment before we get to the second half is I've already heard rumors that Browns fans, I mean, unsurprisingly, are pissed off at Jimmy Haslam because they were looking at other coaches. I mean, the big story that came out about that before we get to the second half is that Jim Schwartz was pretty much guaranteed to take the Browns head coaching job and didn't get it because Jimmy Haslam, because he got his nose in every situation with Cleveland, he said, okay, after 24 days, this coach bailed out, this coach bailed out, this coach bailed out. We're going to give you the coach to Jim Schwartz. We're going to give you the job. And then you're like, wait, I have an idea. Todd Monken, a guy who shitted on that city when he was there in his first term in Cleveland, I think as some kind of coordinator. I don't know specifically, but he was a defensive back coach, I believe, for the Browns, for I think Freddie Kitchens, if I'm not mistaken. And he's just a shithead. And it's like, why would you hire the guy that shitted on your city?
Oh, I know exactly why. I'm leave it with this. Say exactly why. It's a very simple answer. It's a one-word answer. Because.
Damn. Okay. Well, I mean, the good luck to Cleveland. I salute you on that, but we'll see what happens. But we're going to take a quick commercial break, and when we get back, it's going to be all about the Islanders because those are the main guys on the topic. So with that, we'll be right back. This episode of I-86 After Dark is brought to you by Superfry, right here in Merrick, New York. Superfry is serving up homemade soup, legendary hand-cut fries, and wraps that always hit the spot. And if you're hungry for something next level, try the Zazzini, stacked with crispy bacon, melted mozzarella cheese, juicy chicken cutlet, and their signature Roscoe dressing. One bite and you'll know why it's a local favorite. So when you're craving real flavor, head to Superfry in Merrick, New York. Big taste, handcrafted, and always fresh. To place your order, call 516-379-SOUP or just scan the QR code on your screen and get Superfry fast. Welcome back to I-86 After Dark, everybody, and today is the second half of the show after our almost a 1 hour rant about football because I am mentally ill for being a Bills fan, so I'll just put it that way. Yeah, so there's that. So we're going to get down to hockey at this point, and John's going to try his best to stick around for his opinion. It's very opinionated. It's not his strongest suit, but he was nice enough to stick around for the second half. Doesn't hurt, right?
No.
There you go. So
I'll put it this way. You got me watching hockey right now, so that tells you how much I'm prepared for this.
Fuck yeah, let's do it. And you know what, though, too? Maybe this is a seed that's being planted. You never know, my man.
Yeah.
And you know what? People that hang out with me for too long know exactly where I go with this. So, yeah. So we got a lot to digest, and yeah, no, let's get on with it. So the first thing I want to address, and this has actually been a pretty big story that happened over the week, is that according to Frank Saravelli of the Daily Faceoff, he's reporting that the Bridgeport Islanders are, unfortunately, for the most part, are going to likely be relocating to Hamilton, Ontario next season, and they're going to be moving to the TD Coliseum in Hamilton. And it's kind of sad for me personally because I've always been affiliated with the Bridgeport Sound Tigers for within 25 years that I've been following this team. Well, I've been an Islander fan for longer than that, but like for them just having their farm system in Bridgeport, one state over for all that time, and now you have to go over the border to develop your players. What do you think?
Well, let's be honest. You tend to develop your players in Canada.
They do. But the big thing is like when you have an AHL team, most American Hockey League teams, you know, a lot of their teams are either out of state or they're in another country. Like, here's an example. The Buffalo Sabres. Yes, I'm referencing the Buffalo Sabres again. Their affiliation team is the Rochester Americans. That's a 1 hour drive. The New York Islanders, as of we speak, is from Bridgeport, Connecticut, which is an hour, 30-minute train ride or car ride in general to Long Island. So that's not entirely bad. The Hartford Wolfpack, the affiliate for the New York Rangers, same thing. So there's a lot of moving parts. The Albany Devils, that's another team. They're the AHL affiliate for the New Jersey Devils. So there's a lot of teams that have different locations, and I understand that. The Utica Comets were another one for the Vancouver Canucks for a very long time. So there's a lot of affiliation problems in the NHL. Like it goes a while back. I mean, if you get my drift, there's a lot of teams that just conveniently say, well, we have this player down here, and then we could just call him right up without having to go too far.
Well, I think let me ask you now: is it more of the issue of the distance now? Because let's say they have to call somebody up, like let's say day of game.
Well,
Do you think that's become a problem now for them?
see, I don't know. I mean, if they were staying in Bridgeport, I would have said it wouldn't be an issue. But because they have to fly over to the Canadian border, because Hamilton is about an hour, maybe 45-minute drive from Buffalo, so that's not a long drive for
No.
them. But the big thing is that if you need to call up a player the day of, you have to let the player know ahead of time, like, hey, a player got hurt. We need you to come down for the game or two or whatever the injury is. And you call them down or whatever. You get them settled in, and then they play. And then you get recalled, and then you go back up. So realistically, it's not really about the distance. It's more the financial standpoint because the AHL does not make as much money as the NHL. The NHL makes a hell of a lot more than the NHL. The AHL is the equivalent in baseball terms. It's the equivalent of like the AAA league because that's the league before you reach the show. That's what the AHL is. But if you can't develop in the AHL, you have to get sent back down to juniors.
I know. I get what you're saying. I just figure in my head, if there's going to be the travel issue now, is that going to end up hurting them in the long run?
I don't think it's going to be an issue as far as travel. I think it's more of just about location as far as like convenience. Because again, going back to my earlier statement, you have the Hartford Wolfpack who are within an hour and 30-minute drive because that's where the Whalers used to play at the XL Center. And then if the Rangers needed to call up somebody, they call up that player and say, we need you. And it's right there in their own backyard. The Islanders are not going to really have that issue anymore where they're going to have to go up north. But it's really a financial problem because the thing is the Bridgeport Islanders in general have not been very good in a very long time. And when you don't win, you're not going to produce money. So for them, this is a huge step in a downward spiral. And, you have to develop the players the proper way because you have to make an establishment for yourself. Otherwise, it could be because of contract situations or it could be for any reason. It could be for a stadium situation. There's a lot that goes into it. It's not as easy as said and done.
No, I'm only saying, with the travel issue, because if they're not doing it, if they're not making that much money, let me ask you a question. When a player gets called down or called up, I think it's the proper way to phrase it, the player isn't paying for like the flight and everything. It's the team, correct?
Yeah, the team pays for it.
Now, from that perspective, if they're not making that much money, are they going to want to shell out whatever it is to, to want to do that? I'm just asking.
I mean, I don't think it's going to matter because there are Canadian teams in the AHL.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like, there are Canadian teams, and this is the first one in Hamilton in almost 20 years. So this is a huge deal for them at that point because that's the closest you're going to get to a professional team in that region.
We had a comment here coming from Jay saying Dame was right last week. Dallas is coming back from the road at work in daytime. No good. Buffalo. Who were you rooting for in that blowout game?
Which blowout game? The one on Saturday against Buffalo, that game?
I think that's the one he's talking about.
Well, the Sabres kicked their ass. So, obviously I was rooting for the Islanders. So that's a bargain. Okay, he's referring to the Buffalo game. Obviously I would not be rooting for the Sabres. I obviously would be rooting for the Islanders. So, yeah, no. To give you an objectively speaking, I used to be a Buffalo Sabres fan, John, for many, many years. And I was always an Islander fan second for the most of my time. but I just didn't care for the direction of the team at that point, and they were so bad for so long. And then I stepped down maybe a year ago, 2 years ago, something like that. And so I've been out of the game for a while, so I've been checked out with that. But it's just been the Islanders. It's cheaper, it's convenient, it's right here in my backyard, and all that stuff. And you could bring up the next comment, John, on this
Yeah.
one. He just said something else. Should the Sabres go get Charlie Coyle for them? I'd say yes. Um, I guess it just depends what they do. I really have no idea. I haven't followed the Sabres in a while. The only reason I follow them is because of Tom, because he's in the Buffalo area. So that's what this whole show is about. I-86 of the dark, Long Island, Buffalo, and all that. But so I don't know what the Sabres are going to do. But all I could say is that they're really goddamn good this year. And they are getting better by the day, which is insane. They're at a point, John, where they went from being the biggest laughing joke and numbnuts in the NHL to potentially making the playoffs.
Oh, boy, I remember those Sabres teams from back in the day that would become the laughing stock. And also be like, yeah, they lost, 15 games in a row. If I remember correctly, and this should tell you my extent with hockey, was it Matt? Oh, what's to say? Some of the Islanders traded to Buffalo.
Yeah,
Matt Wilson, I think.
yeah, it was Matt Molson and 2 picks, a first and a second for Thomas Vanek. That was a shit trade as a whole. And I remember that trade in the back of my head. What's funny is that I said to myself was that I wasn't expecting, like I knew Vanek at that time was going to get traded because of his cap. He was a free agent that summer. Matt Molson was also a free agent at that time. But there was some distant talk at that time between Matt Molson and Garth Snell where they couldn't agree on a contract extension. So that year when they made that trade, it was basically giving Molson an opportunity to play in Buffalo to get the money he wanted. And then the trade at that time gave John Tavares a solid top 6 winger at that time. So that was the idea of the trade. And it was not guaranteed that Vanek was going to stay. And he did not pan out. He didn't want to be there. And the Islanders were a shit show that year. And I don't blame him. So, and he went to the Canadiens, and then the rest was history.
No, but I remember, like I said, I remember those Sabres teams from back in the day. That would be they'd be eliminated from the playoffs in like February.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that's how bad they were. They were a disposable shit show. I mean, I loved the early 2000s teams, like the 05-06 team. That's like probably of all the Buffalo Sabres teams I ever watched growing up, that was probably my favorite one. But aside the point is that to Jay's comment, the Sabres are just another team in the NHL, in my opinion. I mean, I'm happy for them. They're doing very well. But even if they won the Cup tomorrow, I wouldn't care. I'd be happy for them, but I wouldn't care. Obviously, Tom would shed a tear. But listen, the Islanders got 4 cups, so I'm not worried about that. 1 in my nostrils and 2 in my ears. So
I'm gonna behave on that one. I would say if they win a 5th one, where would that go?
Yeah, for certain. I had to get a little clever there, huh? Yeah, where are your manners? Ah, there it is.
Because also, I'm thinking about, like, wait a second. Like,
Yeah,
trying to represent,
Yeah, but I was about to say, they didn't have it up the whole time, but it doesn't matter. I mean, it looks handsome on you at that perspective. And I'm no homo, by the way.
you were just talking about 2 rigs up here, 2 over here, and it's just never mind.
That was good. That was good. I like that. So here's an opinion for you, because there was actually an interesting story that came out recently. And this is actually from a newspaper, which I didn't know existed, called GreaterLongIsland.com. And they have reported that the NHL is going to be eyeing a future outdoor game at Belmont Park. What do you think?
Didn't they, correct me if I'm wrong here, didn't they just do an outdoor game down in Florida?
Yes, in Miami.
Miami.
Yeah, and they're doing another one on Sunday coming up in Tampa Bay.
Yeah, I think the Tampa Bay one was one I was thinking of. Do I think it can work in New York? Yeah, because Islander fans are that loyal to this team. But where, by location, where would you do it though?
Where would they do it? Well, Belmont Park, like where the track was.
Oh, okay, yeah, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean,
So
it
the
could
plan.
work.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I would say it could work. I just think it'll be very interesting to see how it plays out. But again, Islander fans like Buffalo fans. They're loyal to the team till till the end of time. Let's call a spade a spade.
Yeah, I mean, Islander fans are no doubt loyal. There's no question about that. But I will say is this, is that, um, okay, so we have a question before I get to my next comment. We have two. So Jay said Coyle is a veteran two-way forward, and he's a solid defensive guy, good offensively, kills penalties, and he's physical, and he can be a great addition to their run. I'm not disagreeing, but he has to fit with the scheme. And then who else gets a Vander Kane, guys? If I had to pick, I say the Dallas Stars. You know what? You know who I think would get a Vander Kane? Jail, because that's where he deserves to be. Him and Stephon Diggs could share a fucking cell together. That's where they could go. And no, that is not a racist joke because he actually is a piece of shit. So there's that. No,
But I mean, like I said, could I see it working? Yeah. Would I go to it? Probably.
perhaps, but yeah, no. So the NHL wants to put a game in Belmont Park, and there's an interesting concept to all this because you went to UBS over the summer for your wrestling show. So you know that they were doing construction next to Belmont Park when
Yep.
that took place. They took down the track because it was there for years. The plan is to give you an idea is they built the park about 2 years ago. Great facility. And when you went down there, did you go to the park when you went there? You did not. Okay.
What happened was
So,
we went down there. We took the train, and you could take the train right to UBS Arena.
yep, ran in the shuttle.
Yep.
So the reason I bring this up is if you go to an Islander game, you'll notice when you walk in, like on the outside of it, there's the park, which is a great tailgating area. I highly recommend going there, especially in your case. I highly recommend it. But on the left of it, there's the Belmont Park Village, I believe it's called, and I saw the construction for it on New Year's Day when I went to the game against Utah, and they were doing this big construction site where they're trying to make this into like this big empire, kind of like the Death Star in Star Wars, where it has this big beam and all that shit. The Islanders are trying to turn UBS Arena into a hockey empire, which is fine. I'm cool with this. And when they weren't able to do that at the Coliseum because it was owned by Nassau County, so they were not allowed to really do anything crazy like that. Now they can. So they're trying to build this big empire, including an outdoor rink that's big enough for the public to skate on and to host an NHL game outdoors. And that's why the story came up. And to give you evidence, to be precise, of exactly who's bringing this idea up, this is coming from Steve Mayer, who's the president of NHL Events and Content. And he said this in quote, of course, we've talked about Belmont for an outdoor game. We're doing the All-Star game in 2027 at UBS Arena, which we're so excited about. Knowing what's being built and how incredible that entire area will be once Belmont is complete, it's just fantastic, end quote.
Yeah, until they raise prices on everything.
Usually. But the other thing, too, is the Islanders are also getting better every year. So
That
they made
helps.
a – sorry, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say that helps.
And back then, the thing with the Islanders, it's like apples to pears here, is that the Islanders, it's harder for them to sell in a market like New York, especially in Long Island, because you already have teams like the Yankees, the Rangers, the Knicks, Jets, Giants. All those teams sell out a lot of their games, especially in the Big Apple. The Rangers, the Knicks, whatever. Those teams sell out like that. In a market like Long Island, it's not very easy because it's a smaller market. But back in those days when they won those cups in the 80s, they were not called like that. They weren't the joke of the NHL when they won those 4 cups. But then when Mike Milbury came along, fucked up that entire empire and industry, that's when everybody said, oh, nobody wants to stay on Long Island. Now, what I think Matthew Darsh is doing is because of the rewards of Matthew Schaefer and developing the Belmont Park and all that stuff, the village, etc. They're really trying their best to really make this like an appeasing market, and it's going to actually work out in their favor, and it's going to bring a lot of revenue. And I know in Utah, the Jazz are doing this, the Mammoth are doing this because Ryan Smith owns both teams. He's trying to get a brand new stadium for both of these franchises, and he wants to build a concourse with like different businesses and stuff like that. The same thing is happening here.
I was gonna say, what would be cool is when they build this thing for Belmont, they have a little spot there for R86.
Mm-hmm. I would love to do that. I mean, I would love to do that.
I think what would be cool is that obviously we'd have to talk. You have to talk to the right people. Is to do a live I-86 ahead of an Islanders game.
Yeah, no, I would love to do that, except the only problem is Damien lives in Buffalo, Tom lives in Buffalo, and you're the only other guy I can think of that lives in Long Island. So if you were to do that with me, I would be totally on board with that.
Oh, absolutely.
Plus, we would have to get the two of them to come down here for the game. But I would love to do, because I've already made a commitment, even though with my son being born in 7 weeks from now, because I'm going to be a dad soon. The big thing that's going to happen in 2027 is I've already told my wife is I'm going to be going to the 2027 NHL All-Star Game at UBS Arena. I've already made plans and I've already made a commitment regardless what happens. So I'm going to be going to the All-Star Game.
Well, we can maybe try and see about going in as a media member.
Yeah, I would love to do that, honestly. I mean, it would be a huge benefit for sure.
Well, actually, we'll talk about that off air because we just said something that kind of just got my head rolling here for a second, but we'll talk about that off air.
Yeah, for sure. So, with that being said, I really want to see how that plays out.
No, absolutely, I totally agree.
Absolutely. So the next topic is we're halfway done because we're getting to the next topic for last. The next one is about the New York Rangers, and the Islanders are involved in all of this. And it was revealed before the game tonight against the Rangers, and it was revealed that Artemi Panarin, the bread man, is being scratched due to roster reasons until the Olympic break, which is next week. So all of February 6th to February 24th is the Olympic Games. The Winter Olympics is in Milan, Italy. Definitely check that out when you get a chance, John, because that's going to be a hell of a tournament, and I cannot wait to see that. But
no, I definitely want to check out the Olympics.
Yeah, I'm definitely excited. But the reason why the Rangers are doing this is for two purposes. They don't want to risk him getting hurt, and on top of all that, they want to get something in value for him. And the reason I'm bringing up Panarin is because the Islanders, according to The Athletic, are one of the teams that are interested in him.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's already being said that aside the Islanders, you have the Lightning and the Stars and the Golden Knights are all, potential fits for Panarin. I've also heard the Avalanche, but that's a whole different story. But as far as all that, the big thing with Panarin is that he wants a contract that's going to pay him around $10 to $12 million, which is a lot of money.
Yeah.
But he also wants a 7-year deal, but he wants to stay on that team that agrees to a trade and keep him until he's 40 because he's 33 years old right now.
Well, I got one for you because I read something. I think you mentioned in the group chat Steven Stamkos from Tampa is looking to know. Do you think, being that Petrum it has interest from the Lightning, could you see the possibility of Petrum being swapped for Stamkos and bring Stamkos to the Rangers?
No, the Rangers are not. The Rangers are not going to get Stamkos. They're trying to relieve the players because the Rangers are in the bottom of the league right now. They're in the bottom of the shit barrel where you have to get like a scraper and scrape out the shit. That's where the Rangers are right now. They're like way down there. And second, Stamkos is not on Tampa anymore, and he hasn't been in like 3 years. He's actually on the Nashville Predators. They kind of give you a gig. But yeah, no. Look at that stat right there. Artemi Panarin is leading the team with 57 points and 38 assists with 19 goals. And yet the Rangers scratch him because they want to get value for him.
That tells you how long it's been since I've actually paid attention to hockey.
Yeah. So there you go.
Hey,
This is why they
hey,
keep me.
at least I still remember Stamkos' name.
That's fair. I'll give you that. But that's not the only other name that I've heard the Islanders are in as well, because the Islanders, we'll get to this in a little bit, is while we're on the topic of rumors, aside Panarin and Stamkos, I've also heard that they're interested in Tyler Myers. Oh my fucking God. From the Vancouver Canucks. And he's a 6'1" defenseman. Or actually, he's a little taller than that. I think he's 6'3". He's about Chara size. So he's a big defenseman, but he's nowhere near the skill level of Chara. And he's been in the league for like 15 years. And he's 35 years old. And I've heard the Islanders want to get him as a pairing defenseman. And his cap hit is for $3 million this year and next year. And the Islanders are highly interested in him. So we'll see where that goes. We'll see where that goes.
No, yeah, it'll be. I think that's what makes the rumor stuff so much fun. Is like you curious to see where they're going to end up.
Oh yeah, no, and you know what? It doesn't shock me because there was a rumor 2 weeks ago. Damien and I covered it, where the Islanders were in as one of the teams for Kiefer Sherwood, and he was a hot commodity, and he got traded last Sunday, like the day after the Bills Broncos game. He got traded to San Jose not that long ago. So the benefit is there. And thank God they didn't trade for him because he wouldn't be fitting in the system. So San Jose can have him and they can extend him for all they know, you know? These things like that do happen where you trade for a big name player and they don't do anything. That sometimes happens. So, yeah.
No, I get that. I totally get what you're saying.
Yeah, for sure. And I guess, before we get to the last topic, we will be announcing the next guest on I-86 After Dark after the show, and we will see. So I saved the best for last because, well, this is where it's going to be. Where does Andrew Mangiapane go? I have no idea what the plan is because Edmonton, he's just useless over there. So, yeah, he's fucking useless. But as far as the trades go, the Islanders made not one, but two trades in a 24-hour span. And we're going to talk about both of them tonight. So the first one took place on Monday night because the Islanders just got done playing the Philadelphia Flyers, and they shut them out 4-0. So that's a huge win for the Islanders. And they're now 4 points ahead of the Flyers, and it's going to likely be 6 points ahead of the Flyers after tonight. And they're currently beating the Rangers 5-2 with 5.5 to go in the third period. So we're going to discuss this trade now. So the New York Islanders, apparently from the media, it is being reported that the New York Islanders have made a rare trade with the division rival. Not just anybody. They made a trade with the New York Rangers on Monday. And they have acquired the veteran defenseman Carson Soucy from the New York Rangers in exchange for a 2026 third-round pick. So there's the first trade. And Jay actually made a comment about it. What do I think of the Soucy deal? So I'll get to that first half of that question. The first half of that question is I like Soucy. I always did, especially within his Minnesota days. But he's been bouncing around for a while. And it was very clear that the Islanders needed depth defensemen. Because Romanov was going on LTIR. He still is. People thought Ryan Pulock was going to go on LTIR. And when you go on LTIR, John, you get about maybe half of the salary and frees up some cap space. And you can use that money on anybody you want going into the playoffs. So that's something that the Islanders just did, was they used the cap that they were going to use because they had issues with depth defensemen. They had to call up Isaiah George from Bridgeport. They had to call up Marshall Warren. They had to call up, Cole Ward. Cole McWard. All those guys. So there's a lot of players that have to be moved around because Patrick Waugh can only do so much as accommodating four lines. And the fact that the Islanders even made the trade with the Rangers, I think, is astounding.
Yeah, you really don't hear, especially the two New York teams. It doesn't matter which sport you're talking about. You don't really
Yeah,
the Jets trade with the Giants or the Mets trade with the Yankees.
yeah, or like the Knicks make a trade with the Nets. I mean, you don't
Yeah,
really see that often, but
no,
I think it's fascinating to me that of all the teams that the Rangers could have traded Susie to, it was going to be the fucking Islanders of all places. And the Islanders are trying to make the playoffs, and that's what that trade solidifies to me. They're trying to make the playoffs, and right now they're in a pretty good spot.
well, it makes sense. I mean, we always talk about how New York has been in this drought of not making and not having a team make a run. I think I mentioned this one of the last times I was on last year. The last New York team, major New York team to win anything, was the New York Giants in 2011.
Yeah, that was a while ago. I mean, the
Think
Giants
about
had
that for a
that.
second.
The,
Look, just about that for a second. The
yeah,
New York Giants were the last, and I know before the pitchforks come out, yes, I know the Liberty won in 2024, but let's be honest, who watches the Liberty?
you.
No, my point is this. You look at the big four: hockey, basketball, baseball, and football. The Giants are the last one. So the fact that the Islanders are trying to make that run, I give them all the credit in the world.
Well, I was gonna say the Yankees made the World Series not even 2 years ago.
But they didn't win.
They still made it. The Mets went in 2015, didn't win it, but they were close enough. I mean, I get what you're saying, but as far as like the caliber of just New York sports in general for a one representative, I completely understand that because the Giants they made their case. They beat the Pats, and nobody's won anything since. But I think based on what's happening here is the Islanders are trying to be that hip team, I guess, because they now know the Rangers are going to miss the playoffs. They're taking every advantage that they get, and they pretty much pride them of a depth defenseman, which is great. And I'm not saying that Susie is a slouch because he's had a pretty long career. But my point is that he's definitely going to help. He's definitely going to be in the mix. You know what I mean? Like he's going to definitely help them out because you're not getting Romanov back until at least April. That's if they make the playoffs. And I think if they continue this path, they're going to make it. That's what I think.
It's going to be very interesting to see, with these two moves the Islanders made. I know you're getting into the second move here in a second. How is it going to help them, especially making that push towards the playoffs?
How's that going to help them? Well,
Yeah,
because the thing with the Islanders is that since October, they've had issues with getting defensemen to stay healthy. And if they didn't make the trade, they would have been giving up maybe 4 or 5 goals a game. So at this point, you could look at it from both ends. You could say, on one hand, they were struggling defensively. Going back to my earlier comment, Patrick Watt was the one that kind of has to juggle these 3, 4 lines. Because if you don't have enough defensemen, you're not going to have enough ice to kind of cover everybody, and you need that. It's desperate, and depth is so fucking important, especially in the playoffs. And for a team like the Islanders, who are doing exceptionally better than people thought, you look at it from within the outside, and you say to yourself, okay, you got Schaefer, you have Pulak, you have Romanov, who's hurt, you have Adam Pelech, and you have Scott Mayfield. That's 5 defensemen on the team right there. And then you add a guy like Susie who has experience. So again, without making that trade, they would have to be calling up kids that are not fully developed. That's why they made the deal. And if he's healthy, he's going to help them in the long run. But it's not just because he's there just as a body. He's also there to be the veteran presence. He brings grit. He skates very well. He's a stay-at-home defenseman. That's a big thing that they needed for a while. And they also have guys like Tony DeAngelo. So they're very short-handed, but a lot of them are just slower, older guys. But they needed another body to make that adjustment.
yeah, no, I get. Like I said, by the way, Bob, check the private chat for a
Check
second.
my private chat. Oh, okay. I don't see anything.
You check that. You see. You see where private chat is?
Um, no, I don't. Like, did you send me a message privately?
Yeah, the studio chat. Sorry.
I don't see anything. Well, if you just messaged me directly, I would get it. But what's up?
No, I had an idea to bring up to you, and we were talking before. Well, actually, you know what? Finish up with the Islanders stuff because I've been thinking about this.
Okay, sure. So the last thing we want to talk about, because that Susie trade really benefits the Islanders. So the Islanders, just 24 hours after making the Susie deal, a lot of people said the Islanders might not even be done. Even now, they might not even be done. So the big thing that's going around is the Islanders made another trade. And yesterday it was in development, and the rumor was Andre Palat from the New Jersey Devils was being scratched for managerial reasoning. And I said to myself, okay, so let's see where this goes. I'm curious, where is he going to be going? And then Elliot Freeman came out with a comment because he's like the biggest insider in hockey. And he came out and he basically said that keep an eye out for the New York Islanders to get Andre Palat. And what do you know? They traded him to the New York Islanders, which is a bonus. But what I love about the trade is the details. And the details are Andre Palat was traded to the New York Islanders along with a 2026 third round pick and a 2027 sixth round pick from the New Jersey Devils in exchange for Maxim Ziplikov. And my first initial reaction is it's not the biggest trade in the world. I'm not expecting 2016 Andre Palat. He's 35 years old. He's got a year left of control on his contract. And the big thing why they brought him in, big body, and he has a ton of experience, and he performs in the playoffs. And he was actually the best player on the Devils 2 years ago when they made the playoffs.
I definitely remember that. And like I said, with the guy we spoke about beforehand, I'm forgetting his name now.
Carson Soucy.
Susie, I'd be very curious to see how it works out with them. If this really does help them make that jump to the playoffs because you want all the pieces there.
Yeah, absolutely. And to the credit, during the show, Andre Palat actually scored the first goal of the game in his first game, and he scored his first goal as an Islander. So there you go. There's your status quo on Andre Palat.
Yeah, it's like I said, it's gonna be very interesting to see. I think Islander fans have a lot to look forward to as we head towards the second half and then close out the season.
Absolutely. And I was actually reading more into this deal is that there is no salary retained on the New Jersey side of things. New Jersey got rid of that $6 million contract within a snap, and the Islanders were willing to take it on because, again, the LTIR injury from Romanov and all these other contracts gave them some flexibility, and the cap's going up. So this is actually a really good thing for the Islanders. So we'll see what happens. I hope that he can continue this path, but we'll see because they do have another game tomorrow night against the Rangers at Madison Square Garden. So we'll see where it goes. And yeah, no, I'm really excited to see what Andre Palat brings to the table.
And that's what makes it so much fun. We got team like the Islanders who are on the verge of making the playoffs. Is every move they make, is that going to get them closer, or is that going to end up shooting them in the foot and get them farther? So it'll be very interesting to see.
Definitely. And I do want to come out with one comment real quick, and then we'll get to wrapping up the show. And that is GM Matthew Darsh came on the Daily Face-Off podcast earlier today with Frank Saravelli and John Bugacross and all these people. And basically, just for references, is that he said after the two trades that he made, he said that he feels that the team is better, deeper team after acquiring Susie and Palat, and he does not preclude another deal, and he is not shy of trading a first-round pick, which is huge. And he said that he told the media earlier today that, quote, nothing is off the table, and he absolutely would trade a first-round pick if the right deal comes along. So my initial thoughts is that as a rookie GM in your first full year as GM, how do you pursue that? Because the Islanders have 2 first-round picks. They have their own, and then they have the one they got last year from the Avalanche for Brock Nelson. Like, how do you feel about that?
He's definitely taking the risk. He's taking the chances. He's trying to prove him. I think it's simply trying to prove himself. And I just sort of stat that I think all Islander fans are going to love. In the 20 during the season, the Islanders are now 3-0-0 against the Rangers.
Yep, including 2 shutouts earlier this year. One at the Garden and one at UBS in late November, and then they just blew them out again tonight. So kudos to the New York Islanders for really just putting their foot on the Rangers, ending the season for the Rangers. So at that point, I'm really happy with what they have done so far. And I think they're doing a hell of a lot better than people have acknowledged, because the Islanders are not like the Mets, where it's like, oh, you had a great first half and then you just fall apart. You know what I mean? It's not like that at all.
Yeah, no, I totally get that. Like I said, it's going to be very interesting to see. Fortunately, the Islanders can't play the Rangers every game for the rest of the year. But hey, you got to win. You got to win the games you have to win. That's the best way I can say it.
Absolutely, without a doubt. But in general, like I said, well, there's definitely going to be more deals down the road. I would think if they don't make a deal now, between now to February 6th, you could definitely bet on March 6th, which is the trade deadline. I'm almost certain that they're going to be making a move after the Olympics.
No, it could very well happen. It could very well happen. But I had an idea I want to run past you.
What do you have in mind?
The guy who commented all over Jay. I know exactly who that is. He's actually my co-host on Around the Ropes.
Oh,
yeah.
That's breaking news. Hey, listen, we appreciate him coming on, and we appreciate the comments from the love from Jay for sure. And if it makes you feel better, John, he actually was the co-founder of the Damian Mike Road fan club.
Well, I was going to say we're looking for more people.
Yeah, I'm open to that.
So, Jay, if you're watching, you have an invite, my friend. I just put in a good word with you with the boss.
Yeah, so I guess with that being said, we're just about done here with tonight's show. So with that being said, so we're going to announce the interviewee for next week's show. And you guys have 3 chances. I know John's not going to get this, but I'm pretty sure everybody else will. So your first guess and you guys are going to have 3 chances. I'll give you guys a minute to figure this out. So the first one is that he played for the Islanders in the mid to late 90s. He also played for the Philadelphia Flyers. So that's your first guess. Your second guess is that he won a gold medal with the Swedish Olympic team in I want to say in mid 90s in the World Juniors. And then on top of all that, he was also notorious for wearing multiple different brands in terms of gear with different companies. So it wasn't just one company brand. It was multiple. And I'm talking blockers, pads, helmet, etc. That's your third guess. So once again, he's a gold medalist for Team Sweden. He played for the Islanders and Flyers, and he is a notorious identity crisis as far as fashion design. Do you guys have any ideas who it is? Want to take a guess?
It's not me.
It's not John Blaine. So there's your answer. But so we'll keep it at that. So we'll give everybody a minute. If you guys want to take a guess who it is, I'll say this for sure. The guest that we did have on for the interview, which will be published next week on Wednesday at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, immediately after I-86 After Dark next Wednesday. Yeah, he's going to be on. You'll get the opportunity to listen to that interview. We actually did this interview a week before Christmas, so just to give you guys a heads up.
It's Santa Claus.
No, not Santa Claus. And thirdly, your guest is not going to be Billy Smith, I promise you. And it's not, Chris Osgood. So, and it's not DP. So you guys have one last shot to guess who it is, and then we'll announce it. Okay.
Is it Chris Osgood?
No, it's not Chris Osgood.
Oh.
But, okay, so you ready to know who it is?
Yeah, I'm actually curious.
All right, so next week's I-86 After Dark guest, let me get that going, is...
Met player.
Yo. Obviously, Tommy Soderstrom is coming on I-86 After Dark next Wednesday. So I got to tell you, that was quite the interview. In the beginning, it was a little slow, but it started to pick up. And I did a lot of this during the show, so I owe everybody an apology for that. But then again, my co-host is also a jackass for yapping a lot. So there's that.
Whatever do you mean?
Not you, Tom.
I know. I know. I'm being sarcastic.
Oh no, never you.
Hey! I'm the producer.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, you ever hear Tom talk? That great guy, but it's like he doesn't know when to shut the fuck up. He's like, me, 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 me. By the way, did you know I was in the Holiday Love Story? Me, 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 me. You know we went to fucking Vancouver and Pittsburgh.
What?
Me,
Okay.
me, 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 me.
Why do you sound like the Muppets? What the hell was it?
Beeper.
Yeah, from the Muppets.
Yeah, but
can we get? I don't think Tom's watching right now.
What?
If he is, Tom, I'm sorry for this. If we could get a picture of the beeper from the Muppets and Tom's head and merge the two of them together.
Oh my god, he'd fucking kill me. He would kill me if I did that. But whatever, who gives a shit? Tom's a great guy. But yeah, there's a reason for everything. In every interview we've done, he's like, me, 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 me. He goes on a rant about Vancouver or Pittsburgh because of the trips we took. And then he'd be like, oh, by the way, I was in that movie, Holiday Touchdown, Bill's Love Story, that no one fucking saw until like all of Buffalo saw it around Christmas this year.
I actually saw a preview. I did see a trailer for it.
I'll say this. The movie was just pure garbage. It's a Hallmark movie.
Well, I will say this much, and I'm going to say this with all the love in the world. My girlfriend, when it gets time towards Christmas, Hallmark is the only thing she has on the television in her house.
Oh, boy.
And one time I was there, I looked up and I did see a trailer for it. I'm like, oh, that must be the movie Tom's talking about.
Oh, God, yeah. Well, it was a pretty bad movie, and I forget his name, but one of the actors in that movie is from the show The Sopranos. So that's the only thing I know. I forget his name, but because I wasn't allowed to watch that show when I was growing up, so for obvious reasons.
You have one guy from The Sopranos, and you have one guy from I-86, so.
There you go. I'll put it that way. But, yeah, no. So is there any last-minute comments you want to say before we head on out, Mr. Blaine?
No, I was glad to be back on. It's glad to be back in the power chair. If you know that reference, you know exactly who I'm referring to in that one.
Yep.
And then I would say this much, like I said before, well wishes to Damien on a quick and speedy recovery. You will be, you know, your knowledge will be missed here. But honestly, for me, I would say this to Damien right now, you know, stay focused on your health, man.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. I mean, I would think he's probably going to be back next week. He'll just probably be in a chair. I mean, we'll see. We'll play it by ear. I mean, if you can't make it next week, then
he's going to be in a chair. Isn't he usually in a chair?
I mean, aren't we all?
I was going to say, what's he going to do? I got it. Damien is running laps while doing the show.
I'll definitely bring that to him if I have to.
You just sat there. You just said, "Oh, he's gonna be sitting in the chair." Really?
When does he just kick me in the ass? Oh wait, he can't.
Oh, by the way, his name started next week. Oh God, it's gonna sound so mean. Damien, I'm sorry. You can kick me later. Instead of calling him the Great Dame, he's now called Eileen.
Eileen. You're such an asshole, you know that?
Again, I say that jokingly, Damien. Obviously, you know, speedy recovery, my friend. And yeah, can't wait to see you back here.
Definitely. So, with that being said,
But don't run though. Don't run or ski over here.
Damn straight. So, with that being said, thank you guys for hanging out with us tonight. John, as always, I appreciate you coming on tonight, filling in for Damien. I know it was a last minute thing, but I appreciate it very much, as always. And Tom, I hope I see you soon, you jackass. See you next week. I dare you to say that to his face when he comes back. Oh my god. But yeah, no. So we actually have two more comments real quick. And yeah, so Jay said the Great Dame fan club leader. Yep, that's your title. And next week we get an interview with the Great Dame. Yep. Hey Dame, why are you so broken? I don't know.
Dave, I got my first question, David. David, why are you leaning to the left? I thought you should be standing up straight.
Nice one. Nice one. God damn it.
I hope he realizes I'm just busting chops.
Of course, yeah, no, without a doubt. So, all right, John. So we're gonna head on out. I appreciate you all very much, John. Same with you. And I am your host, Buffalo Bob. I'm here with the producer, Mr. John Blaine from Around the Ropes. Check out his show if you can. And we'll talk to you guys next week. And we'll see you next time. Bye.